This is one object designed to become two different letters depending on where you look from. From one viewpoint, it reads as an O, and from another, it becomes a K. And that's okay. Before making anything physical, I worked out the two readings as a geometric problem. The object doesn't need to look like a recognizable letter from every angle. And actually, between the intended viewpoints, it can look almost completely abstract. Once geometry was resolved, I turned the drawings into templates and transferred the profiles onto the foam. At this stage, it's all pretty simple, but every cut has to protect two different readings at once. I started with a rough prototype in XPS foam. I already knew the illusion should work geometrically. What I wanted to test was how little material the physical object could survive with. For me, that's part of the attraction of these forms, like removing as much material as possible until all that's left is the minimum structure needed to hold the two readings together. But in trying to reduce the form, I cut too much away from the wrong place. One part of the prototype became way too fragile and a section broke away. The readings were still present in the geometry, but the object had lost the strength it needed to hold itself together. Fatefully, I then made one cut through the centre and the remaining structure just gave way completely. So I pinned the prototype back together. It was no longer a finished object, but it was still useful. It allowed me to keep checking the sightlines and, more importantly, to understand exactly where the structure had failed. The problem wasn't that I'd removed too much material overall. It was that I'd removed it from positions the object still needed for support, and that failed prototype became a map of the final build. For the final version, I moved into denser polyurethane board and carried those lessons into a new model. I didn't want to make the final form safer simply by leaving it heavier or bulkier. I still removed as much material as I could, but this time I changed where those reductions happened, preserving the connections that the XPS prototype had shown me were essential. The geometry was essentially the same. What had changed was my understanding of how it needed to exist as a real self-supporting object. And this time it held. The O resolved from the first viewpoint and the K from the second. Once the readings were working, I could stop messing with the structure and start refining the surface. Finishing is not just cosmetic. The cleaner the object becomes, the less the eye is distracted by how it was made. The aim is for the material to recede so that from the correct viewpoints, all you notice is the letter. There's one material lesson I would carry into the next build. The PU board gave me a much cleaner and more stable object than the XPS prototype, but its surface was still really porous. It absorbed far more primer than I expected. Next time I would seal the material before priming so the finish can be built more efficiently and with better control. I'd also probably use aerosol for the final coat, I think, instead of a brush, because that left sort of visible texture. The illusion works because each viewpoint collapses different parts of the object into a readable form. From here, its edges align as an O, move around it, and those same structures break apart before resolving again as a K. And between those views, the object reveals what it really is, a strange physical form engineered around two precise readings.